The next person I'm going to bring on is Ryan Holck, who is a speaker, author, marketer, and brand messaging strategist. As creator of the Distill Your Story framework, I love that. He guides brands to tell their story clearly so they are memorable and referable. Ryan combines storytelling principles with marketing practices to help brands be memorable and referable. Oh, I think I just said that. Anyway, he has helped personal brands and coaches, small family-run brick and mortar businesses, and multi-million-dollar green energy firms and statewide nonprofits. So many of the businesses build great-looking websites that struggle to deliver new customers while they build followings and buy ads. Their website is a revolving door of lost time and revenue. So, Ryan, I want to bring you on stage. This is the first time I've ever met you, so I'm so happy.
Yes, it is.
You and you're going to be talking. You're the only one talking about websites, so I'm really glad.
Wow,
that you came on board.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. It is great to be here, and it's nice to meet you. I have been watching off and on the last couple of days to see what all is being shared and the kind of value that you guys have been adding, and I so appreciate what you have shared personally and a number of the others, and just the technology and everything is phenomenal.
Yeah. Everything is moving so fast these days. I would love for you just to hop in, Ryan, and give us, illuminate us.
Yeah, fantastic. My name is Ryan Holck, and I help brands figure out really how to tell their story clearly. And I find that when it comes to online, there tends to be a gap for a lot of businesses and brands. What can come so naturally for us face to face, when we're having a conversation with someone and we can see their eyes and we know immediately, hey, they got what we said, or there's a little bit of a gap, that when it comes to translating our story and sharing about ourselves online, sometimes we get a disconnect and there's a gap there, and we don't even know that there's a gap until it's too late. And so I like to say that our website is really the virtual or digital front door of our business.
Oh, yeah.
That when it comes to our website, when it comes to our messaging on our website, we need to think about how we're sharing as if that person was going to walk into our business, as if we had a brick and mortar, they walked in the store, we picked up a phone. How would we be having a conversation with them? How would we be engaging with them? Because that gap can exist so quickly. And as George Bernard Shaw said, the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. And I have seen so many business owners struggle, especially those who are solopreneurs or have a small number of employees, and they're trying to wear all the hats themselves and figure out, how do I do all this? That we think we're communicating something online that maybe we aren't. And what I've really discovered is that there are 3 things that have got to align when it comes to your website to make sure that we are conveying clearly with people. And those 3 things are, our messaging has got to be on point, meaning it's got to clearly share our story. And I'm going to give you some examples and even some recipes. I saw some of what you did. I believe it was yesterday with your, here's how to put those pieces together. We'll do some similar things to that.
Yeah.
The design elements have got to be in place. And that essentially just means that users can easily get their way around our site. It makes sense to them. We aren't doing creative yet out of the box things that make it hard to engage with us.
Yeah, it's eliminating some of those barriers.
It is eliminating some of those barriers, and then it's making sure the technology works. And while I've built 100 plus websites over the years, I'm not so much about what system you're using as much as the fact that the tech has got to work. And honestly, we could spend 3 full days of sessions talking about tech for web, and that's not my goal here today, because I know really, if we can get the message right and the design at a place where it's functional for people, a large portion of the work is done for us. So what I've put together and what I've realized in the process of serving a lot of organizations is there are some key components. I call them the blueprint. They are the foundational things that you have to address on your website at some level. And so that's what I want to talk about here, because they're going to talk about how we get our messaging right, how we make sure they're presented from a design standpoint clearly. So let's just dive in.
Okay, I'm ready.
So the very first thing is we've got to make sure on our website that we have a hero section with a clear introduction. And what I mean by hero section is that's the part on your website when someone types in your domain name, your URL, and hits go, that very first thing they see before they've ever scrolled, before they've flicked with their finger to go down the page, what do they see? What image or video and what text do they see? Because statistically, we have 7 seconds for that page to load.
Yeah.
And someone to read that 1 or 2 sentence synopsis of who and what we are to grasp and understand and decide if they're going to stick. And so we need to make sure that in that section, we share something really specific about ourselves. We need to share briefly what audience do we serve, what solution do we provide, and what win do people get from our solution or our version of the product. And so often what I find is websites, we either don't clearly have anything written up there, or we focus on a cool visual that looks amazing, or it's a little too long, or I've got to scroll too far down the page. And the reality is most visitors aren't going to give us that kind of daytime, that kind of real estate. And so it's got to be super, super clear who we serve, what we serve them with, the solution, and a way that they can win from using it. And here's a couple ideas, examples. I know sometimes this can feel theoretical. So here's a quick one from an irrigation company. Irrigation services that maximize yields, delivering water, fertilizer, drainage solutions for farm and industry. Okay, in 2 sentences, I know that they serve farm and industry. That's the audience for this business. What is the solution? They have irrigation services. They're delivering it so they maximize yields. That's the win. Okay, it took 2 sentences. This thing loaded. I immediately knew, is this for me? And if not, then I can move on. But if it is, I know I should keep reading.
Yeah, another one gets them right where they are.
It gets them right where they are, and it takes just moments to get there, because once you've engaged someone, they're going to keep rolling down the page. They're going to keep scrolling. They're going to keep reading headlines, getting more info. But if we lose them at the beginning, we're done.
Well, and I was thinking, as you were saying that, half the time people are looking at that website on their phones.
Yes, which means it's even got less real estate, physical space to cover. So we've got to be even more careful of how we share it. Here's another one, a live event for entrepreneurs who are ready to turn ideas into action. So it's serving entrepreneurs. The solution is that it's a live event and they're turning their ideas into action. It's very specific. There's buttons letting them take action. Here's one from a nonprofit. Using the ranching lifestyle to build relational health through life skills of communication, trust, and respect. And this is one where actually they've let the imagery help support who it is that they serve and the audience that they serve. So they're kind of saying we've got some design elements helping support the idea. We've got some text elements, but the whole idea is that the hero section, number 1, hero section, is super strong and lets us know in moments who this thing is about, who it's for. So the second part of the blueprint is that we've got to have a section that answers the question, is this for me? The old adage is that people only care what's for them. What's in it for me is kind of the marketing, thing that for so long people said, what do I get out of this? What do I get out of this? And so because that's subconscious, whether people are actually saying it or not, we got to make sure we have something on our website that clearly says, is this for me? That it's saying it's for this audience, and it's if you have this problem, you're in the right place. So really it's an opportunity, I say, for people to self-identify that, I have this problem, and because they acknowledge, they understand my problem, I should probably keep reading and see what services they provide. So some ideas here is, this is from a formal wear store, creating lasting memories for your wedding, prom, quinceañera, or black tie event.
Yeah.
And then they go into some of the struggles that people have with finding
Mhm.
suits and tuxes and things like that,
Oh,
because
yeah.
we don't dress up anymore. Like
That's
who dresses up, And so, especially kids,
yeah.
but really quick, they know,
Yeah.
hey, is this for a wedding, a prom? This is what I'm looking for. I'm in the right place.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. I don't know what's next. So it's just a way, and it's not long, but it's
Mm-mm.
telling enough of our story to invite people in a way that engages them, quickly. And the other
Mhm.
interesting thing is, and this is a general rule for a website, is that people don't read every word on your page. They skim headlines and decide
Mhm.
what sections they're going to read next. And
Mhm.
so one of the things we do from a design standpoint is we want to make sure that our headlines give a really nice overview of our products and services. So if someone only reads the headlines on the page, they're at least going to have an idea of
Yeah.
who and what we are. They won't know the specifics, but they at least know enough to make some level of decision about engaging
Sure.
with.
Sure. And I can remember the wedding gown and the prom dress, and and immediately that would have hooked me.
Yes, exactly. Here's another nonprofit one. Nonprofits struggle to get their word out about their work and impact. Immediately, the audience we've identified, what are you struggling with, is essentially marketing. And they go into a bunch of, here's the
Mhm.
things you may experience. So if this is your audience, you immediately know, hey, there's maybe this, I'm in the right place. They may have some
Right.
solutions for me.
Right. Yeah.
The whole idea is just that we're trying to, just like we would in person, build rapport, build a relationship, and do it in a way where people go, oh yeah, I feel like I'm heard or seen or at least understood.
Mhm.
Here's one for a hunting outfitter, and it's a little different approach, but the whole idea is they know their audience enough to say, if you're frustrated by elusive prey, you go hunting and you come home with nothing. You spend a lot of money. There's nothing, no meat in the freezer. We understand you, and here's how you could engage with us. So
Mhm.
part of it is understanding our audience, being creative in the design elements, but still
Mhm.
knowing I got to write some text here that connects with people, at an emotional level for them. So
Yeah.
the third part is that we've got to outline the benefits of working with us.
Mhm.
That people have got to really understand the value that we bring, our connection, and I call this it's the win expanded. I know at the end of the day, there are benefits for having worked with me. There are
Mhm.
benefits for someone having worked with you,
Mhm.
but the people showing up at our website don't necessarily have that knowledge. They don't.
Yeah.
So we've got to make sure we find a creative way to say, hey, here's the kind of things you could expect. Here's the kind of things
Mhm.
other people have gotten from their
Yeah.
experience with us, and how you could maybe benefit as well. But doing it in a conversational way so that
Oh,
people
yeah.
clearly understand. There's different ways of presenting it. You could do it in columns and say, here's big ideas. It's a brand clarity, simplified
Mhm.
marketing, increased sales. Oh, by the way, there's details, but I know people only read headlines. So what are the big ideas that I want to have conveyed maybe on a website? Or, maybe we actually do a this includes section like this example does, where they've got bullets that say, here's all the things to expect and what makes us different.
Mhm.
Here's the benefits you get. If you've been with others, you know what the experience is like, but we're going to tell you how we're set apart from them.
Yes, and that's that differentiator.
Yep, just finding that differentiator so that people know, oh, you might both have similar products, you might both have similar services, but there has to be something that makes one of you better or you different enough that I go, this is the company I'd like to hire. This is the
Yeah.
coach I'd like to hire. This is the storefront I want to go to. I've got,
Mhm.
choices, and I want to know which is the best one for me and my family.
Mhm. Mhm.
Here's another one this one's in the nonprofit space. It's a horse therapy ranch, and they recognize that they're speaking a lot of the time to donors and supporters, people who will never experience actually a session with them. So they want to go really into detail of, if you sponsored someone to come, here's what they're going to learn. Here's what it's going to be like. Here's what the
Mhm.
experience is going to be like. So it's a
Yeah.
similar idea of how do people win from being with us, but they're
Mhm.
explaining it to the people who are helping fund it for others.
Sure.
So,
Oh, absolutely.
once again, just finding some creative ways to connect the dots for people. The next part is highlighting your authority. And really, this is an opportunity for us to say, I know my stuff. I have been through some things. I've been doing this for years. I've experienced some things that make me be the best solution to solve this problem for you. And I take this as an opportunity really to say, here's a little of my origin story, or the business start, where we came from, what made us who we are. And here's a little bit of our experience. So you know, we didn't just show up yesterday. We know what we're doing. We've been around for years. We've served this many hundreds or thousands of people, whatever it is. But that you do it in a way that's conversational. You do it in a way that you've walked into a store when you've talked to somebody and go, I don't know how long they've been doing this, but it has to have been a long time because they understand their stuff.
Yeah.
And other times you walk in and you go, I'm not sure this person has done this more than 3 times, and so, and whether we consciously are thinking, I'm not going to buy from them or I'm going to buy from them, when you're online, you're making that decision in moments.
Yeah.
And so any way that we can share our story and help break down walls and barriers.
Yeah.
So here's an example from a coach and consultant. Hi there, I'm Diana. What makes me a successful career alignment executive coach? I understand unique challenges and frustrations of career growth and leadership in the tech industry because I overcame them myself. I've got 20 years of experience, and she goes on a little bit. In 4 sentences. Yeah. She's told you what her name is. She's told you, I've been in this industry. Here's who I best can serve. Here's how long I've done it. And why do I know I can do it? Because I beat it myself. I figured it out. Let me help you.
And that's so important because we don't want to come across in our story as such an expert that we can do it, but nobody else can. It has to be.
Yes, exactly. And I think you kind of hinted a little at that about in our LinkedIn, even how we share about who and what we are. And there's a fine line between coming across as boisterous and coming across as no, I do have a level of competency here and I can help you to move forward. And so that's kind of the tension with sharing your origin story. Here's another one, and this one's for a residential care home.
Wow.
Small facility care home. They have 6 beds. They have 4 locations. High ratio of staff members to residents, but they recognize that the person they're speaking to is not mom and dad who need a place to live. It's the kids and the grandkids who are looking for a home.
Yeah.
To put and they want a home that feels like a home. They don't want it to feel like, a government place you just send your family members to kind of live their last days. They want it to feel like a home. So they share their story at a deeper level. And if you're wrestling through these things, we can help you because we've done this 70, 80 times. We've been there because we were in your shoes looking for someone to care for our parents, and we decided we could solve this problem for other people. So it's obviously, if you look at it, I won't read it all, but it's obviously longer than Diana's was at a few sentences, but it's made a connection to, we really understand where you're at because we've been there ourselves.
Yeah, we're going to take care of your parents in the best way we can. And that's, I can remember years ago talking with my friends, and we said, well, when we get to such and such an age, we're going to buy a house together and we're going to have a nurse and a cook. And that was kind of an early version of that.
Well, and that honestly, and it's not here. I know enough of their story because we've talked about it, but that's actually part of it. Was they had a family member who had a traumatic brain injury, and it was, we couldn't find a place for them to go. We're going to need to find our own solution. Well, if we're paying for a solution for one, why not invite others to be a part? Oh, we need to open a facility that does this for people. So yes, very much so. It's finding creative ways and then saying, hey, here's what makes us different. Here's why we're the place to be.
Yeah, exactly. And, I always tell my clients that people don't necessarily buy because you're the best. They
No.
buy because of that differentiator and it appeals to them.
Yeah. It's because people are paying for the outcome they're going to get. And if
Mm-hmm.
you're providing a significantly different outcome, or an outcome that makes me feel different about my experience with you,
Mm-hmm.
then that's powerful. And when we can hone in on that and focus it and really speak to it on our website of here's what truly makes us different, then
Mm-hmm.
it's a game changer.
Yeah.
It's a way, in this example, even if you say you're a speaker, you've got speaker reels, you've got experience you visually could show. That's another way to show it, that is in a compact way, but I actually want to see you in action. I actually want to see what this experience would be like. What if I hired you to come, be a business coach? What if I had you come to my company and do sessions? What would that experience be?
Mm-hmm.
Any way that we can break down that barrier of what to experience, what they're going to expect, it's tremendously helpful for people.
Oh, yeah. I love this one.
Yeah.
Stop burying your genius. I love that.
Yes. So the fifth part of the blueprint is to outline your offers. And I recognize that seems a little bit like a no-brainer, like at some point you got to say what you offer, and that you've got to talk about the solutions that you provide. But the interesting thing is, and online, there's this natural tendency, we either overcompensate and overinform. And so people there's so much content, there's so much text, there's so much visuals that a website visitor, especially someone who doesn't know us well yet, doesn't have rapport with us, they're not going to read through all of it.
Right.
So because they don't read through all of it, we end up with this disconnect because as a business owner, we're like, this was on my website. I'm not sure why they don't know this information.
Yeah.
So that's one extreme. The other extreme is we share so little that people go, I'm not actually sure what they do or what their offer is. I'm not sure how I would hire them or what I'd hire them for. I know the topic they address. And so part of figuring out how to outline our offers, especially online, is thinking about how could I present my product or solutions in sections or in bite-sized pieces that invite people to go down the proverbial rabbit hole with me of, oh, you gave me a topic and you gave me a couple sentences of information and that sounds interesting. Maybe I want to learn more. Or that service is not quite for me, but this one sounds interesting. And an option then to learn more, to get further into our website and get more details about specifics. Because the reality is the longer someone stays on our site, the more they read, the higher the probability that they feel connected to what we're doing, and the higher probability they're actually going to click a button and take action and become a lead for us or become a customer, book a call, take some sort of resource from us that would allow us to follow up with them at some level. So part of outlining our offer is we just got to think about, how could I share this differently? How could I share this in pieces? And so one option is to literally say, here's the 3 or 4 things we do, and have a couple sentence explanation. And you can't see it there because the bar is at the bottom, but there's a button below it that would say, hey, just take this action if you'd like to take this action. And so that's one option. Is I know I've got one. The call to action is to contact us to learn more. So why not just have one button to do it?
Yeah, and I'm sorry,
no, you're fine.
I can't remember how to get that thing off.
So another option is to actually say a little bit about each of your products or services, and to give people the option. If this one connects with you, book a call now. If this one sounds interesting, but you'd like a little more info, click the Learn More button, and it's going to take you to a page where you aren't going to get 2 sentences and bullets. You're going to get 3 paragraphs and a further explanation, maybe a blog post, maybe a link to some white paper or something that I've written that connects about this, my LinkedIn profile where you can learn more. There's some way for people to get more information about you.
Yeah.
And once again, the whole idea is I just want you to connect with my offers at a deeper level. I want you to engage with them, but I recognize people aren't going to read 5 paragraphs right off the bat unless they're really, really interested.
Right.
And
this is, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, you're fine. You're fine.
I was looking at this as you know, I come out of higher ed and did career development for 20 years. And I'm looking at this, and these are actually two very different services and solutions, but it's covering both.
Yes.
Yeah, because job search and career transition is not quite the same as career growth. You know, there's a little bit different orientation there.
There is a very different orientation, and yet, and this is the interesting thing, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because this is a client that I worked with, and this was part of the conversation, is I serve people in two very different stages of their business and career life. One's in that transition moment, or I'm just getting out of college and starting. The other is I'm trying to figure out what the next 10 years of my life look like. And the first version of her website, while it was working for her, it did not clearly differentiate that there was two definitive sections of services that she provided. And so part of our conversation was, how do we make sure these offers are super clear? Because we're pretty certain that you've got both groups coming to your website, but they don't necessarily know that you have a service package that would fit both of them until you clearly articulate it. And so that really is part of figuring out what is your offer, you know, who is that ideal customer for each of those offers, and how can we talk to them with super clarity, intentionality, you know, specificity, so that they know, you know, this is a solution that could be for me. You know, one other option, and this is sometimes in the service-based businesses, but really it's as much a design element as anything, is we have this tendency in the Western world, because we read left to right, that eyes track left to right across the top of a website. They pause for a moment in the upper right-hand corner. They go diagonally down the page. They start again on the left, and they move to the right. And so one of the things that we can do from a design standpoint, especially when we're talking about products and services that we may have 5 or 6 things we want to highlight, is to actually visually make people go diagonals across the page. It helps them to pause in appropriate places. So you'll notice here, the first one, upper right, residential painting. And if they go back down, then the next topic, commercial painting. And if you continue down the page, it keeps diagonally going back and forth across the page. It's a way for us, from a text and content standpoint, to keep people reading, but it's also a way from a design standpoint for us to make sure that website visitors stay as long as they will, as long as they can, because they keep reading down a page. And so we're following natural reading tendencies in the Western world. And so it's a great thing to kind of know in the back of your head, hey, I got a lot of content to share here. Like, there's a lot of services. Honestly, what I find is, if you have more than 3, 4, 5 big, what I call buckets of services that you want to provide, it gets really lengthy really fast. And so you've got to get creative visually. How am I going to get people to even get down the page to know I do these services? So, you know, so the 6th blueprint is social proof. And for me, social proof's this weird thing, because I want to hear the wins that other people have gotten. I want, maybe you know the phrase that that someone else has had, you have the benefit of going second, that someone else has gone before you and has said, these people know how to solve my problem. They have done it for me. They can do it for you. You now can follow in my footsteps and get a win too.
That's a perfect way to state it.
You know, doing it in a way that doesn't feel slimy, doesn't feel like I coerce someone into saying, you know, into a lousy Yelp review, you know, but feels organic, feels like, hey, this person actually served. And I know there's a number of ways to do it on online. One of them is with logos either of the service providers or the businesses that have been served, the partners you serve. The interesting thing to think about with this is, like, this is for an irrigation company. My guess is you've maybe seen 2 of those logos ever, and they don't mean anything to you if you're outside of irrigation.
Right.
I can tell you, having worked with them, these logos mean something. They're trusted brands. They are top of the heap from a product quality standpoint. And so they know their audience well enough to know if I show these logos, it means credibility instantly. I haven't typed a word. I haven't read a word.
Yeah, it's just right there.
It's right there. It's like someone putting, logos for, for car dealerships, for, car brands, for, on their website. If you say I worked for Disney, I worked for Coca-Cola, immediately you're at a caliber of person, because you know what it took to get into that kind of position. So this using logos can do that for you without taking lots of real estate. This is a small section on a website, really small, but it gets the job done very, very quickly.
Absolutely. And we know that when we see things like that in those logos, it does something to us emotionally too.
Yes, because if we have had personal experiences with those brands, we immediately are drawn to them. Now, simultaneously, if they've been negative experiences, we go, maybe they aren't the solution for me. And really, that's okay, because the whole point is the website's either going to attract you to the products and services offered by that business, or they're going to make you go, I'm not sure this is for me, which is fine, because it's actually then done its job.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is more of the traditional approach, where you actually have written testimonials from people. A lot of businesses that I have helped are like, we've never asked for them. We either get them online through Google, we get them through Yelp, we get them, on our social channels. Someone comments in a feed, and we get a post that sounds amazing. We want to use it places. So sometimes it takes creativity in terms of, where am I going to find these about my business, or getting strategic and asking, could you give me a 3-sentence review? The tension that I find with these is, I don't know if you've ever gone to a page. Amazon's notorious for this. You start reading reviews and you're like, none of these really say anything.
Yeah.
like there's words here, but I feel like these were more like, yay, it was amazing, or it could have been better. Like, none of these really like emotionally move the bar for me. They just kind of were essentially a glorified thumbs up or thumbs down.
Yeah.
And so one of the things about a written version is making sure you find ones that say something specific about your company or a member of your team, or the experience of working with you, what they won, how things got better because of it. Because that's really the whole goal here, is not just to say, rah, this business is amazing, you should use them, but to say specifically, here's how they solved my problem. The last opportunity here is, if you've got videos of people actually doing testimonials, I wish I could make that play. I know we had challenges with audio yesterday on videos, but if you've got a video of people in 15 to 20 seconds talking about how amazing your product or service was, find ways to use those things. Grab them from your social channels, compile them. In this one, they compiled 15 or 20 of them into a video. Now, I think this video is longer than most people are ever going to watch.
Right.
But the reality is, for those people who want to be really sure this is for them,
they're going to
the content is there. And it's from enough voices that you don't go, 3 people were sold on this. It's 15 to 20. After the number 4, you're going, okay, I get the idea. Like, I understand. You know what I mean? It's so it's just a great way for you to do it.
Offering a lead magnet. Yes.
Yep. The 7th part of the blueprint is offering a lead magnet. And this is so important, because we have really 2 or 3 great ways to catch people on our website in terms of action. We've got buttons, we've got what's the next step, but in terms of following up with someone who isn't ready to actually make a call to book something, if we can get them on our email list, if we can get some form of contact information, then we have an opportunity to build relationship with them. Whether that's through automation that gets triggered and they get 3 emails and then they start receiving our newsletter or whatever. Anytime that we can find a way to trade an email or contact information for a resource is a powerful tool to growing our business. And I like to see lead magnets that clearly articulate, here's the problem we serve and here's our unique way of solving it, or here's a way we help people solve it. What we're finding is that most lead magnets, if they take more than 10 to 15 minutes to enact, to read, to go through, people don't go through them anymore.
Right.
Your first couple emails, people will engage with, and then you're like, I had 50% open rates on the first emails and the last one had 10%. Yeah. Something happened. The person lost interest. Something didn't connect right. There was a gap there.
Yeah.
And so really kind of getting creative then with, maybe it's time for a new lead magnet. Maybe I need to articulate the problem we solve in a different way. Could I do this shorter? Some of the best lead magnets I've ever personally had were partnerships with other organizations where we created a joint, like a white book kind of thing of here's how to solve a problem. And it was not short. It took 45 minutes or an hour to go through. But it was a true white paper on here's an issue. Yeah. Here's how to address it. And people engaged with it like crazy because it gave so much valuable information. But we only realized that because we put the information out and started getting responses and went, oh, we need to make this a resource. People would eat this up. So there's a few ways to do this. And I'm sure when it comes to lead magnets that whether people know the phrase lead magnet or not, they've seen these. It's a section on your website. Here's a problem or it's a question, a solution. Here is a 10-minute fix. And
I love that. Yeah. That instant win.
It's an instant win. And that's what people are looking for. That it's a super fast way to get, and this clearly says it only takes you 10 minutes. And how do they know it only takes you 10 minutes? Well, first of all, this is one of mine. So I actually asked people how long it took them to do it. And they're like, it took less than, you told me to expect 10 minutes and it took less. Okay, and that worked. Okay. Yeah. But it's an opportunity, for people. I talked about that formal wear store at the beginning. And one of the things they found is formal season and prom season, parents were looking to save some money on their kids' rentals because the price of everything in the last few years has gone up. So they put out we're going to give you a discount if you give us your information. They went so far then as to say, if your kid wants to be a rep on their campus, you could actually earn additional discounts. You could theoretically have a free tuxedo or
cool. Yeah.
But they used it as a way to start a relationship, to start a conversation, especially with a mom or dad, and to say, here's what we can give you to start with, but if you want to be part of this process, we could actually help you make more, save more.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Great idea.
Fascinating to see then the kids who dive in and the kids who don't, who are really bought into the idea. But for them, it's working as a great lead magnet connection for people to really get engaged. This is another way of delivering one, just where it's a pop-up. It's not part of what's on the screen. You've probably seen them slide in from the bottom, slide in from the top, fill the whole page. Sometimes on mobile, you can never find the how do I close this button box, and you just go away. So there are tech challenges to them sometimes. But the whole idea is, how on earth could I engage with somebody and solve a problem for them in a relatively short amount of time?
Yeah.
The last part of the blueprint, and I know we're getting short here on time, but is to invite visitors to take action. And I know that really that's the goal of your website, a website in general, especially a business website. But I'm amazed at how few businesses ask for engagement with intentionality and with repetition over and over, to say, if you want to engage with us, here's how. If you want to engage with us, here's how. Because what we're finding is that people, so about 45% of all website visits happen on a desktop, about 50 50, just over 50 happen on a mobile, and then that 5 to 8 in the middle happens on like tablet devices.
Right.
But what we're finding is on desktop, people don't like scrolling back up.
Right.
So if there is not a repeated action item button someplace in your content, people don't go back to the top, and they don't always get to the bottom to see that book a call, buy now, whatever option that you've got as your number one option. So we've got to figure out, how can I share my content in a way that I'm repeating? What's the number one thing what's the number one action I'd love them to take? That's going to be my call to action number one, my CTA one. If they don't take that action, what's the second one I'd love them to take? How could I repeat that? And then what is that resource, that landing, that lead magnet of some sort that I could have? And we could deliver those in different ways. We talked about the Z visual across the page. In the upper right-hand corner, the best place in your real estate, in your navigation visually to put a button's that upper right-hand corner, because it's that natural pause place. The next place is when they come diagonally down the screen and there's something in the middle. And that button is reiterating an action step they've seen before. The words may not be the same. Like in this one, book a demo is what it says in the top menu, but here in the middle it says see it in action. Those both do the same thing, but because of the text around them, they wrote the text a little different for that call to action button. Just hoping, hey, maybe you didn't think demo was quite what you were looking for, but yeah, I actually do want to see it. I want to, I want to touch this product and see how it works and that kind of stuff. The other option is to get creative and have pop-ups and fly-ins and things like that happen. This business, during business hours, this little pop-up happens that says call us now. If you would like to speak to us, call us now. I put this on one website. They 2x'd phone calls during business hours, normal time of the year, peak season 3x'd them, all because they made it a no-brainer that click this here and make a phone call right now.
Yeah, that's great.
Makes a huge difference. So those are the 8 foundational blueprint ideas. And I know that a lot of businesses struggle with figuring out, okay, that was a lot to take in, and I suspect there might be some gaps, but I don't even know where to start. So I actually have a free resource.
And I have it. I have the link for it right here. I've got the link. I can copy it and drop it in.
Awesome. And there's a QR code there too. But I have, so this is a free resource. It is a DIY website audit. This essentially gives you a worksheet and 3 quick videos that are 2 to 3 minutes each. You watch the video, it explains, here's what to do right now. And the worksheet then is your response opportunity. And in 10 minutes, it will walk you through, how is my messaging doing on my website? Am I getting there? Am I in my own way in the process? And if I am, what should I do? So the whole goal is to be able to figure out, as a business owner, if people aren't taking action on my website, if they're not clicking buttons, they're not becoming leads, there's probably either a tech problem or a messaging problem going on. And usually it's on the messaging side.
Technology can fail us, but messaging is all important.
Yeah. And if you know the technology is having a problem, like if you load the page in Chrome and it doesn't look right, you kind of go, there's got to be something going on here. I'm not blaming the business immediately for that challenge. If I read it and I go, I have no idea who they are and what they do, then I go,
maybe not.
Maybe there's some disconnect for the business. So this would help you actually begin to process through and figure out what's next.
Yeah, because I think so many of us, and particularly when people are starting out, or they're trying to do their first website and they don't really know what that means. This is terrific. This is such a great tool. So Ryan, thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad we finally got to meet. And you will be featured in our downloadable app as one of our experts. And so, in fact, I think you're already in there. And we also have just started the digital, or we're getting ready to launch the Dumont Digital Marketing Hour on LinkedIn. It's a live program.
Very
So
cool.
I'd love to have you,
That would
as
be
one of our
fantastic.
interviews. Okay, so folks, this is great. And we have one last person to come up. So Ryan, thank you very much. And we will talk to you soon.